Okay, today we are playing a game on Volskaya Industries. We are in the Gold SR range, and we will be playing Tracer on attack and Sombra on defense. And our current team composition is Diva, Winston, Reaper, Tracer, Mercy, and Lucio. So a wholly unremarkable team and not worth talking about to any significant degree. So let's just start the game. So we're attacking first. That's slightly too loud. So we have chosen not to go around the usual side on the left. And we are instead just going to try and walk ourselves in the front door, taking a bit of... Oh my god, I always forget that it does that if you change the volume. Taking a bit of an unusual pass, because we kind of like start blinking past it, and then we're like, oh, I'm going to blink back, so we kind of use an unnecessary blink to like go past the gate, and then we come back across the gate again anyway. And we end up in a fight with Junkrat, we have to recall back. Half our team's currently dead, because we've lost Winston and Reaper. And we're getting run down by Torbjorn and Reinhardt, and we try to run away, but Torbjorn's turret's there to finish us off, and we end up, like, putting ourselves in a pretty awkward position where we start retreating back up the staircase. But that's a narrow hallway, which doesn't really let you take advantage of Tracer's mobility. We also just kind of get smacked in the face by Fire Strike, which is, of course, going to generally be bad when you only have 100 hit points. So, we are going to keep trying to go through the choke point, which is not generally recommended as Tracer, because it's really easy to just take incidental damage as you're trying to go through the choke point. And Tracer has one of the easier times going around the left-hand side. So we have Pulse Bomb built up, we stuck her, we got Orisa, and we got Mercy, and that is gonna be enough in most cases. Our team's a little staggered right now, but we're getting through. They lost their main tank and their main healer. And they've got a Torbjorn in here just trying to build a turret rather than actually, like, you know, help with the game. So, we get the first point. No, the tire happens, it kind of like stalls it out. We get the point, don't worry, we get the point. And now we will spend 6 minutes failing to get the second point. Not to spoil the surprise or anything, but this is not a terribly long game, despite being a 2 CP game. Let's get the cursor out of the center of the screen. Despite being a 2 CP game, this is relatively short, which should tell you how well the second round goes. So we are, again, trying to go through the main choke point as Tracer, which is generally not recommended because it's really easy to just take damage as you're going through the choke point, and sometimes get killed as you're going through the choke point. Good reflexes to dodge the McCree. I would have absolutely gotten flashbanged in the face, because I have the reflexes of a geriatric 80-year-old man. So, they do still have a Torbjorn, which makes things a little bit more difficult for us, because it just kinda tracks you and hits you. So, this is something we can avoid by watching the kill feed, because we see in the kill feed, McCree just got rezzed. We're coming back around here, and we're like, oh fuck, here's McCree. McCree just flashbangs and kills us. McCree's alive. Like, we know that from seeing the kill feed, but then we come back over into him anyway, when he's like, right there, which is... you know, not recommended. And he's gonna be looking for us, because we just killed him, so he's got a bone to pick with us at that point. So McCree's over there, McCree is over there. Winston's over there ulting, but he died and only killed the turret, so it didn't exactly go super well for him. We got Pulse Bomb, stuck someone, only killed Reinhardt, but we did kill their main tank, so it's pretty good. So we see that there's a Mercy over there. We should have been trying more actively to get the Mercy rather than trying to kill McCree, because if you don't kill Mercy, Mercy just makes sure no one else dies, especially with the way Valkyrie is now, though they're about to nerf it on the PTR. Well, they have nerfed it on the PTR. And it's probably gonna go live. I mean, I don't know if it's the change I would have gone with. It seems a bit over the top. I would have just reduced its, I mean, the change is, I should say what the change is, you know, probably. The change is that, Valkyrie is not gonna reset the cooldown on res anymore. Which is... overkill, a little bit, on the nerf. I would have just reduced the duration on Valkyrie, because 20 seconds is fucking long. But... that's what apparently they're deciding to do. There was, people are not particularly happy about it. I've seen a pro player saying, tweeting out that if the change goes live, he's just going to quit playing Overwatch. Which also seems a bit over the top, but, I mean, you know, whatever. His life, he can do what he wants. It does need a nerf. I don't think that's the nerf I would have gone with, personally. I would have reduced the duration first. This is how Blizzard is, though, right? Have you noticed that, like, Blizzard's changes are always just sweeping and huge? They never try, like, small incremental changes. Like, when they buffed, like, Mercy's damage boost up to 50%, and then went, oh fuck, that's too strong, and then they just nerfed it back down to the original value. At no point trying any value in between 30 and 40. Now, what the fuck is an incremental change? No, it didn't work. Scrap the entire fucking thing. It did not work. Blizzard are a stupid company. They have, like, infinity money, but what a stupid company. So, we again decide that we're going to come through the main choke point, which is still not generally recommended. And we got, like, options on this map. We can go, like, the left-hand side round and we can go the right-hand side round, but we always just keep going through the choke point, which sort of gives us away, as well as also being, like, easy to take just some damage as we're coming through the doorway, which we want to avoid as Tracer, being as we don't have that many hit points. So Reaper span on them, and they're mostly dead. We're fighting the turret. We have to recall to actually fully kill the turret, which is unfortunate. But also kind of how it is with Tracer and Torbjorn generally. Fairly unnecessary to try and use the pulse bomb on Junkrat, because he's got his back to you. And Junkrat's pretty easy to hit, because he actually has, like, a relatively big model for a DPS hero. Because, he's got a big old tire on his fucking back, as well as being, like, generally, like, spreads himself out as he's moving around, So, don't really need to stick him, and he's not looking at us. We could probably just, like, drill him to death, and that is in fact what we do. We mostly killed him before the bomb even went off, which we missed, which is obviously bad, but, like, we could have killed him without it anyway. And we killed the McCree as well, so we're feeling good right now. Someone compliments us as well, so, we're really feeling it now, Mr. Krabs. However, Mercy's alive, most of our team was dead. Oh god, isn't that scary? Blink back, we're like, oh fuck. We don't want to be here because he's building the turret. If you're gonna shoot at the Molten Core Torbjorn, just shoot at the turret, because if you shoot at the turret, he never actually gets to build it to a level 2, which means it never gets to be a level 3. Shooting Torbjorn himself when he's in Molten Core takes too long to kill him, and you don't really want him to get the level 3 turret. So we get rezzed in a pretty unfortunate spot by all accounts, and fair bit of our team is actually still dead, and we're like low HP, so we come over here to get this health kit. Alright, now we're ready to fight again. We have heard the tire. I assume that this was, pushing the button on accident, because nothing's happening. We hear the tire happening, but we don't ever see the tire, so I assume that was a misclick. So most of our team currently dead. We shouldn't be out here anymore, because if most of your team is dead, there's no front line, and if there's no front line, you're not flanking anything anymore, because if there's no front line to actually take attention, they just turn to you, and then you become the front line. But you don't want to be the front line, because you're Tracer, or Genji, or whatever you're playing, whatever flanker you're playing. I say whatever flanker you're playing, like there's many flankers in the game, the only other one is Reaper, but Reaper can also be a frontline fighter. Sometimes Pharah, but now we're getting into some, like, conditional modifiers. So we are, again, just going to come through the main door. We're on the left-hand side now. You can, like, get up here without being seen by just, like, going on one of the rotating platforms. Because you don't generally want people to know you're coming if you're playing a flanker. At least not until you're on their face trying to kill them, anyway. So we come over here and we stick the Molten Core turret. This is not a good use of company resources because the Molten Core turret is extremely healthy. It's got 800 HP? It has a lot of hit points. I don't know the exact value on the Molten Core turret. I'm not that into Toblerone. It's got a lot of hit points. Not a good use of resources to try and stick it, because it's not going to break it unless it's already, like, half dead. And when it reverts to a tier 2 turret, the damage doesn't carry over, so it just kind of gets undone. Better off saving it to actually use on something, sticking it to somebody we can kill with it, rather than the turret, which we won't kill. So most of our team's dead right now, so we're leaving again. Not terribly much came of that push. We got Torbjorn to use his Molten Core, which is one of the scarier ults in the game, honestly, provided he has his turret. Well, even if he doesn't have his turret, the thing is that when they don't have their turret, they just sit there trying to build the turret for 12 seconds and it doesn't work. They just ran out there and shot people in Molten Core, they'd kill, like, the entire team. So McCree's behind us. Happens, sometimes McCree's behind the attacking team. and gets the ultimate. It doesn't feel good, but it is known to happen. So, now we have to come back around again. So he used his ultimate as well, which is something. Reinhardt is dead now. Their Reinhardt over here, currently dead. We hit somebody. Somebody else is over here. Who is it? It's Lucio. It is rather difficult for his Tracer as well, because they all have Torbjorn armor. What a sad tire. So we picked off their Reinhardt, but we never actually got to do anything with it because we spent so much time looking for Lucio, and then, like, the tire happened as well, so that would have probably zoned us off if we tried to come in anyway. So unfortunately, we didn't get to do anything with that pick. And that's why you don't try to charge across the fucking map. You get fucked, but your team also gets fucked because they're standing behind you because you're playing Reinhardt. And then you go off and leave, and that happens. Our main tank and main healer are dead right now. We don't even want to be fighting now. Reaper's dead as well. Diva has decided to use her ultimate. This fight's never going to work because we are coming into it with such a disadvantage. The silver lining is we've gotten a couple of them to use their ultimates, but we've also used a couple of our ultimates to make this happen as well. So it's a net negative for us because there's only 20 seconds left on the timer right now, and we just used a bunch of ultimates before we actually had any chance to win a push. We committed a bunch of ultimates to a push we weren't going to win because we didn't have half of our team. Good recall, right before the end. And now we don't have enough time to build them up again. Fortunately, Reinhardt decided to come over here and fight us by himself, which was a fight he was not favored to win, and he in fact did not win it. Reaper managed to spin on a few people, but he didn't spin on enough of the important people for it to actually stick. Basically, I mean, Mercy is still alive. And we get to run her down, but by this point, the fight's kind of starting to turn anyway, and then Earth Shatter happens. Look, not to spoil the surprise or anything, we don't even get the first tick on this point. Because we didn't come into this fight in a fantastic position, but it ends up getting worse and worse and worse, and then we end up coming in here to pick up the health kit, but we lose the game while we're doing that. You gotta be careful if you're gonna leave the point when you're in overtime. So now, there's not much of the game left. We're gonna play Sombra. Sombra, not as good on defense as she is on attack, but Sombra, if played well, very, very scary. Honestly, there's no worse feeling in the world than playing against a really good Sombra. It's one of the most oppressive feelings in the entire world. So, here's what we should be doing right now, because we're actually just kind of looking up here doing nothing. We should have been over here ready to do this immediately. Just like, the translocator lasts 15 seconds. If there's an important health kit that you want to hack on the other side, the attacker's side, you don't do this if if you're an attacker, you don't get to set up like this. So if you're defending and you're trying to get one of the hacker's health kits, throw your translocator out when there's like 5 seconds on the timer before the round starts. Go over to the thing you want to hack, just like start hacking, and then translocate away, like immediately. There's no need to add so many extra layers to it like that, like waiting until the timer ticks over and then using stealth and then recalling away. Also makes it easier for you to get killed because you have to actually like get over there while things are still happening. So, we are playing Sombra. So, there's just a really long flowchart of thing. I had this whole thing thought out the last time we actually had a Sombra video. I don't have the entire flowchart in my mind right now, so this is not going to be as good. So basically our number one priority when we're playing Sombra is building ult charge, because the Emp is the strongest ultimate in the game. Not in a vacuum. By itself, it's not the strongest ultimate in the game. If comboed with like anything, even just your team being there, not even necessarily all of them, it's the strongest ultimate in the game, because it just makes several heroes not heroes anymore. Tracer, not a hero anymore. Reinhardt, not a hero anymore. So we want to build that as quickly as possible. This is really easy for us to do because Sombra has very unique mobility options in the translocator and the stealth. So what we want to do is put a translocator somewhere. And then we're gonna put it down somewhere safe, we're gonna stealth out, and we're gonna try and pick people off if possible. You know, Sombra doesn't do the most damage in the world, so like, it's not necessarily gonna happen super consistently unless you're awesome at aiming. But we're gonna go out there, we're gonna try and pick people off, but we're gonna build ult charge doing it, because we're gonna do damage to people, and we're gonna distract them by doing so. And then if we're threatened, we just translocate away. And that's what we want to do. We don't do that. Like, we just kind of been shooting through the gate at people. We want to be, like, getting ready to go out and actually fight people. And then the other thing, like, this is a thing that most people don't do with Sombra. Like, maybe they get the first part, but then the second thing is you want to reposition yourself very frequently. Sombra can get to a lot of weird places, and she can get there very quickly. So, what most people will do is they'll go, imagine we're attacking, right? They'll go, okay, I'm gonna come over here, and I'm gonna hack this health kit, and this is gonna be my place, right? You wouldn't use this health kit, you'd use, like, the health kit further back, but whatever, for argument's sake, we're using this health kit. And they'll go, alright, this is gonna be my area, I'm gonna hack this health kit, and I'm gonna translocate back here, and then I'm gonna put my translocator here again, and I'm gonna go out and try again. The point of Sombra is to be really unpredictable, because she has stealth, and she can get to a lot of weird places. So, okay, maybe you come over here and you say, alright, I'm gonna use this health kit now. Then you come back to it, and you're like, alright, now, if you do it, maybe you do it one more time. Like, maybe you do it twice from the same health kit. And then, like, they're gonna know roughly where you are at that point. So you say to yourself, okay, I don't want to do that anymore because they know I'm operating in this area. So I'll go over, like, here and hack this health kit. And now I'll come at them from a different angle. They won't know exactly where I went to, blah, blah, blah. And I already do that a couple times. And then, like, maybe I'll do, like, the one further back over here. You mix it up. You try and be unpredictable and distracting. And then eventually you get your ultimate, and then you try and just wait for your team to be ready to fight, and then you ult the team, and you fight. We don't really do that as Sombra, but that's, like, generally what we're looking to do. And, you know, we're looking to distract and try and pick people, but our number one priority is, like, building our ult charge. And also, like, hacking a lot of health kits, partly because it helps our team and makes it harder for the enemy team, but on a more selfish level, it gives us ult charge, because if somebody uses the health kit, we get ult charge for healing them. Sombra also slightly worse on defense, because it's a little bit harder to, operate behind the attacking team, generally. Whereas if you're attacking as Sombra, it's really easy to get behind the defending team. So we spend a lot of time, like, fixated on hacking this health kit when there's, like, fighting happening out here. It's okay, we kill the Mercy in the end. So now we come out to start fighting again. We've used our translator to get over here. It puts us, like, really close to the enemy team, so it's not, like, a great idea. Because now we don't have anywhere to escape to, right? Because we use our translocator to come over here, and yeah, it's about to run out anyway, right? Like, I wasn't even about to run out. We come over here, now how do we get out again? Right? Like, suppose the whole enemy team turns to us, how do we get out? Which is what they do. We don't get out. You can't use your invisibility as an escape. The translocator is your escape, the invisibility is how you get in. So, you don't want to translocate closer to the enemy team unless you're gonna go for, like, the big EMP play, basically. So, we translocate in, but then we have no way to get back out again, because invisibility is not an escape. This is kind of nitpicky. When you respawn, use invisibility as fast as possible, because that's the thing that gets you there quickly, and you want the cooldown ticking as quickly as possible, because then you can probably use it twice to get back. And you can use the translocator to bridge, like, gaps like this, like stealth as soon as possible, because you want the cooldown ticking, basically, as quickly as possible. So we get back again, miraculously, to actually try and fight again. So, when you're in a fight as Sombra, you want to hack, like, a really important target, rather than hacking somebody is usually better than dealing damage to somebody. And on top of, like, list of the most sad people to be hacked, Reinhardt's, like, number 1 or 2. He's in steep competition with Tracer. So, like, we should hack this man, because then he can't use his shield, he can't use any of his abilities. He's just big, slow, trying to hit you with a melee weapon for 6 seconds. Can't even put his shield up. Makes him just a sitting duck. So rather than trying to do damage to this Lucio, who is generally hard to kill, we should hack the Reinhardt. So that he's not a hero anymore. Yeah, we hack Mercy, but, like, honestly, hacking Mercy is gonna be less impactful than hacking Reinhardt in most cases. Unless the Mercy has Valkyrie. So we use our EMP, whole team's dead. Nobody is here to use the EMP with us. This is the textbook Sombra mistake. Your team has to be ready to fight with you. The Emp is extremely strong, but it's only strong if your team is there with you. You by yourself is not enough. If you're fighting people and you're by yourself, or if you're missing a significant portion of your team, do not use the Emp, because you need your team to be there for the Emp to be strong. So we spend a long time deliberating over that change. If you're going to change heroes, you got to change quickly, especially right after the first point's going to be taken, because you want to be out there ready to fight as they arrive, because now they are here and fighting your team 6v5, because it takes us a long time to decide to actually change. And then Torbjorn appears in front of us. We oddly don't shoot at him for a while and then start shooting at him, but then we get cut by Genji. So, if we saved the Emp, if we didn't use the Emp on the last checkpoint, maybe this goes completely differently, right? Maybe this goes way better for us because they don't get to use all of those ultimates. Or maybe it goes at least a little bit better than a complete disaster. So we change the Tracer to get back again. We got if we leave this point for half a second, they get the point. They're gonna get the point. To nobody's great surprise, because I already spoiled the ending to this game. So we kind of back up off the point. Oh god, everybody else on the point dies. By the time we get back to the point, it's all over. Didn't go super well. So we do not see the play of the game because we leave the game. How sad. So, things that stand out the most is Tracer, we don't really, try to do anything particularly fancy. Honestly, it doesn't feel like we make that many attempts to try and make something happen. We also keep going through, the most dangerous area possible, but then we don't really try and, get behind them and pick off, the priority targets like Mercy, It doesn't really feel like we ever play Tracer, because the whole point of Tracer is to be behind people and applying massive pressure and trying to pick people off. And then as Sombra, we use Translocator poorly. We don't really do what we're trying to do as Sombra, which is be behind people, distracting and building ult charge. And then we use our Emp 1v6. Those are the most standout things in this game. So thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer, and I hope you found the video helpful.